what's going on here. I bet I'll figure this out. Don't you worry.
All right.
Hey, there you are.
Hi, we can't see you.
You're about to see me in just a minute. Y'all don't have
Okay.
y'all don't have an issue with Nike hats, do you?
Nah.
Okay, good.
Nike. Nike.
There we are.
Yeah.
Hi. Good morning.
He's dressed like a hooligan and step it up.
Still can't see you.
This is working for me. Oh,
Yeah.
There you go. Here he comes.
Hey.
Hi.
All right. Did you guys have a good long weekend?
I have it, Suzanne. I have him. Okay.
All right. Justin's gonna be here soon. I haven't heard from Jerry or Bill. So I guess.
What about Aurora?
So she wasn't feeling well, and she's kind of on the fence about coming today. So I guess she probably would have been. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Looks like it's 9:04. We're going to meet for the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Workgroup here at City Hall. And the first item on our agenda is to discuss and provide input on future land use map K3s. So we have Brandon here with us digitally to sort of advise us on the items that he and Selena submitted for our packet. Selena's out of town, so she won't be joining us today. So if you'll turn to page 3, you have some charts. So K3s is going to be developing our future land use map. They created our existing land use map, and then based on the feedback they gathered, in our survey and in the future land use meeting, and then what they have today from us, they'll be generating a map to go into our comprehensive plan document. So Brandon, whenever you're ready, you can just take off.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me just a second. I'm going to bring that document up. I'm having a hard time bringing up your packet here. Give me just a second, okay?
Yep.
There it is. Okay. Yeah, so hey, thanks and good morning, everybody that's watching.
We still can't see you again, no.
Oh, you can't?
No.
There you go. I don't know why. Sorry about that. There we go.
There he
Can you
is.
see me now?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Give away, make him the sole invisible. So I think he's going to project something here in a second too. So.
Yeah, so what we provided you guys was a matrix. And what this matrix does is, for one thing, at a high level, it captures the feedback that the community received at the meeting in terms of the types of uses that the community desires to see and desires not to see, frankly. And so, one of the biggest areas that we got feedback on was the types of residential units, like what kind of residential densities y'all are interested in seeing, and also different types of non-residential use throughout the community. And so what we've done with the matrix is begin to create, and I'm just going to, if you look at the matrix and work your way over from left to right, what you'll see is we've begun to draw a link and to create relationships between future land use classifications, your existing zoning districts, activities that are permitted within zoning districts, and the types of streets within your community and the streets upon which different activities are going to be permitted. And so and I don't want to get too academic here, but the typical approach for a future land use plan is to take areas and just kind of draw generally areas where you say this is the classification for this area. This area is going to be rural, or this area is going to be single family or whatnot. And then there is typically a breakdown that says within these future land use class areas, these zoning districts are allowed. And that's your guide for zoning changes in the future. And then basically in your zoning code, then you have certain activities that are allowed within each zoning district. And that's usually where the planning stops. At that point, depending on what your zoning district is, you're either allowed to do a particular use or you're not. And so what we've done is take that process one step further, just based on Selena's and my approach to land use planning and to regulating which uses are allowed where. And our approach really looks to your street system and your street types to further guide what activities are permitted. We feel that's kind of what sometimes creates issues with zoning, is that zoning districts aren't really related to the street. And you may have, an R1 zoning district that's on a rural street. You may have an R1 zoning district that's on a regional street. And sometimes that may or may not be a good thing. And so what we've done is we've classified your streets, which we did in the community meeting. And there was a transportation map that was provided at the community meeting that provided a breakdown of the different street types. You had rural street types, neighborhood streets, community streets, and regional streets. And so what we've done is create sort of a synthesis here between your comprehensive, what's going to be your comprehensive plan, and the future land use map of the comprehensive plan. And we've created a sort of a decision-making process, and also what is eventually going to be a regulatory process that'll be developed into your zoning code. So now that I've kind of given you the academic, and I said I wasn't going to do that for too long, and I ended up doing it, let me work you through the way the process will work. So we have not created this map for you yet, and we're going to. That's going to be the next step after today's meeting. We just wanted to start with the matrix. And so on the future land use map, there will be 5 land use classifications. There will be natural, in which no activity will be allowed. There will be rural areas, rural classification, in which rural and agricultural uses will be allowed, activities will be allowed. There'll be neighborhood classification, neighborhood areas, in which generally single family and some limited multifamily and 2-family will be permitted. There will be community areas, which will be for more community-oriented types of uses that the entire city uses, and perhaps some users from outside of Wood Creek. And then there will be regional classification with regional uses that, of course, are used by the entire community and also other people within the region, and particularly and potentially people that are traveling through. So that's generally what your future land use map is going to look like. It's going to have the city and the ETJ broken up into those 5 different classifications. And so next, as you move over to the next column, possible zoning, this is where the future land use plan begins to correlate to your zoning code, which I know you guys are planning on updating that, just like you're updating your subdivision code. And so what we've done here is provide a breakdown of your existing zoning districts. So in the possible zoning column, these are all of your existing zoning districts. And what we've done is provide you kind of I'd call it a decoder, like a decoder ring, like from A Christmas Story, Ralphie's decoder ring, or kind of a matrix, which says, this is your regulatory guide. So within neighborhood areas, as they will potentially be classified on the future land use map, which we're going to develop next, or rural or community or regional, these particular zoning districts are generally appropriate. They or may be appropriate. That doesn't mean that they always are, but that means that these particular zoning districts can be applied in within this area. And then the other thing that we've done within the activity column, as you move over, we've broken this down to say within this zoning district, this is our recommendation for different activities that'll be allowed in that zoning district. And so I'd say the possible zoning column and the activity column, this may or may not reflect what's in your zoning code right now, but it's our job to give you recommendations on future land use and potential zoning code changes, because that's what a comprehensive plan does and a future land use map does. It says, hey, it needs to look at what you have right now, but for things that don't match up, that's kind of the direction to change your zoning code pursuant to your comprehensive plan. And then lastly, with the last category, primary street frontage class, this is totally giving direction towards zoning code updates. And so what these last four columns will do is this will potentially be incorporated into your zoning code for these particular zoning districts. And so in your zoning code, say you have an SF1 through a 6 zoning district, and somebody's wanting to propose conventional 1/3 acre lots. And if you remember from the comprehensive plan meeting, what was the residential type that the community overwhelmingly said that they think is reasonable and appropriate for Wood Creek? The 1/3 acre lots. And so in your zoning code, your code will say that if for an area, say the area is zoned S, or the property is zoned SF1, and somebody wants to do conventional 1/3 acre lot, the next thing that you will do is look at the type of street. So you'll have a thoroughfare plan, which is something that, or a simple thoroughfare map, which is a recommendation that's going to come out of this comprehensive plan. And I think the Platinum Road Panel Committee the other night said that that's something they want to do. And so this plan needs to make recommendations for what a thoroughfare plan would look like and what a thoroughfare map would look like. So imagine going back to a piece of property that's zoned SF1 through 6, or SF1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. If somebody wants to do conventional 1/3 acre lot, the next thing you do in your zoning code to look and see if that use is permitted is look at the street. So what kind of street does that property front onto? Well, if it fronts onto a rural or a neighborhood street, then that land use would potentially be permitted. But if it fronts onto a community or a regional street, well, then maybe not. And the reason is, do you want 1/3 acre lots fronting onto Ranch Road 12? No, not necessarily. You may have that situation now, but do you want to continue that? Maybe not, because you want to have retail uses fronting onto Ranch Road 12. And so what this process does by linking activity types to your primary street frontages is it allows you to do several things. Number one, it allows you to make sure that an activity is appropriate for that street. Certain types of land uses just don't make sense on a really busy street. So you're really linking up land use with urban design, right? Where you can develop appropriate street frontages. And you're also linking up economics. You're saying you're trying to make sure that you have, retail types of uses or potentially other tax generating uses on your primary streets, on your primary economic lifelines, thoroughfares. And it also links up land uses with your environment. So you're not going to want to have a big tractor supply in a natural area, right? No matter what street it fronts. And so this system, which works its way from future land use class all the way down to street type, in our recommendation as your planners, completely marries land use with the street type in terms of, is this street able to serve this particular land use? Is the impact that this land use going to have on the on the area. Is it potentially going to be mitigated by the infrastructure that exists? And it also marries all the other things that the four main categories that we set out to address in the future land use process, which is the environment, which was natural systems, roads, which is physical systems, economics, which is fiscal systems, and of course, land use, which is the general classification. So I know this is kind of a different way to look at it. Maybe, at least the last three or the last four columns is a little bit different. But we hope it makes sense, and we think this is a kind of a unique, I'd like to think groundbreaking way to address future land use and make sure that everything is linked up, and y'all have a really good process, good decision-making process, and a really great framework and system moving forward to make sure that things are developed appropriately in your city. So I could run through this whole thing for you guys, or we could just rip it to shreds and y'all could tell me what you like and you don't like, and ask me any questions. Hopefully that made sense. I'm gonna turn it back over to you guys.
Brendan, I have a question. Okay, I'm understanding and following what you're saying, but, okay, so we have the primary street frontage classes, rural, neighborhood, community, regional, and then we have a scale, rural, neighborhood, community, regional. I think we need a good definition of what is a rural road, a neighborhood road, a community road, and a regional road. Because
Yes, ma'am.
I can just see somebody that has not got the level of understanding in this, looking at this and going, well, these are the same thing. And
Yeah. Hey, that's a really great comment. And so what you're doing, I think, is you're kind of pointing out that we've got a little bit more work to do in terms of the fiscal systems, defining rural, neighborhood, community, or regional streets, what those are. I think that's something that the comprehensive plan work group, that's probably a task that we need to give to the physical systems group, is to, define what these streets are, because that's something that they need to define, and that way they can provide that definition, and we can link that up with the land use comprehensive plan group in defining what a natural area is, what a rural area is, what a neighborhood area is, what a community area is. And so, to answer your question, I think, in terms of doing that, rural road is, I think, will be defined with two things. Number one, it'll be defined with kind of a typical street section, saying it's typically 2 lanes, doesn't have curb or gutter on it. It just drains into a ditch on either side. And it isn't designed to carry more than this many cars per day. That's typically how you define a certain street. Same with neighborhood. Neighborhood street may or may not have curb and gutter on it. 2 lanes, 3 lanes. There's no standard definition of what each of these streets mean. It just kind of means a different thing for each community. And then we'll go in, and the next thing we'll do is define, what each land use class is. And so we haven't gotten there yet, and I think hopefully this chart, this matrix here, isn't putting the cart too much before the horse, but at least identifying the high level classification so we can go in and kind of provide that specificity. But hopefully this is just providing the general framework of it. And that's, you're bringing up a great point there. That's the next step, and that's something we can kind of start take a shot at before the next meeting.
So, Brandon, just to be clear, we are basically done. This is potentially our last meeting. We have to have one more, and the group's going to talk about that today. So, in regards to those definitions, I can work to get them to you for a legend in the map, but we're wrapping up this process. We're about to send our work to P&Z for approval.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we need to get you a map then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well then that's the next step. I guess from today, the main thing is we can do the map. We're going to do the map based on this, and then obviously the map there's a good chance there are going to be things in the map that y'all don't like and you want to change, but at least we have something static for y'all to look at and react and respond to and make changes to, and P&Z can make changes to it. So I guess from today, I just want to make sure you guys are cool with this overall framework, that you like it, you think it's unique and implementable, and you can, I want to make sure y'all kind of understand where we're going with this, and because it will potentially feed into future zoning code updates. So yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but it looks like you're headed in the right direction. I do kind of second what Lydia is saying, in that the overlap of terminology and the street classifications and the scale, the land use classification is a little bit confusing. So I know that in the future land use meeting and in those charts, you already have the street classifications kind of locked in. So
Yeah.
if there's a way to work on the land use classification language just a little bit, like
Yeah.
if we could find, start at the source and find a comparable word, I think that could be helpful in drawing the difference between the two. And then obviously the definitions are going to be, even if it's just a couple of words under each one, sort of highlights what this classification is. I think that would be good.
Generally, our recommendation is, I'd recommend to leave the classifications the same, just because, and if I'd recommend leaving the classifications as they are and changing the road names instead, because I think, rural is more of a classification than it is a street type. Our thinking is keeping the terminology simple, because generally regional roads are found in regional areas, and community roads are found in community areas. But just based on the way cities are developed, it always doesn't work out that way. A lot of times you have a regional road going through a rural area. And so and then a lot of times you have a neighborhood road, or you have a community road that goes through a neighborhood too. And so that's why we have them all the same, is because generally in any city, and this, my approach in particular is that, when it comes to land use planning and zoning, I just be honest, in my 13, 14 years of experience, I think cities and regulators make this stuff a lot more confusing and categorical than it needs to be. And so, that's why we recommend keeping the terms as simple as possible. And that's why we recommended them all the same, is that typically, in any city, what do you have? You have areas and you have streets. And typically the street type is linked to the area, but not always. And so that's why we recommend having the same terms. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Brandon, what they've been historically in the past, I'm just talking specifically from being a planning and zoning commissioner. We've had collector roads, we've had feeder roads, we've had, the regional roads, that sort of thing. And I think everybody's used to seeing those type of designations. So that's why I questioned it.
Yeah. We can keep the same old terms if you want to. Again, and I'm just being honest, again, I can put those terms down there if you guys think there's going to be some issues. My issue, or the reason why I'm recommending that y'all change the names of them, is because the typical categories for streets are rural streets, or they call it, rural streets, local streets, collector streets, and arterial streets. That's the typical nomenclature. But arterial doesn't necessarily always provide any kind of direction towards the land uses that are going to be on it, and so when you, my opinion, when you call a street a regional street, it provides you that link to the scale and intensity of the uses that are going to be there, because you don't really have like arterial types of uses in an area. You'll have arterials usually go through areas that are carrying a lot of traffic that may or may not be from that area. So it's usually like when you go to, like Ranch Road 12 has y'all on it. Y'all live in the community. So y'all are local, but it's got me on it who is commuting from San Antonio, or it's got people from Wimberley on it. So the users of that street are regional users. And then the street can kind of be designed that way. So that's the logic behind that. So anyway, that's what we can change it however you guys want to. That's kind of the planning framework for it, if that makes sense.
Okay, Brandon, will this table be a part of the appendix or attached somewhere behind the map that you're making?
Yeah, I would say in the land use section of your comprehensive plan, you're going to have your land use map, and then I would have this table as the very next page.
Okay.
And this table is also going to probably be the first page in your zoning code once y'all amend that. Because when somebody comes in, when a land developer comes in and says, say they're in a rural area, say on the future land use plan, it's classified as rural, and they come in and they want to do duplexes, you need to be able to reference this and say, well, in order to do duplexes, you need a DU 1 district. And, DU 1 districts aren't allowed in the rural. So you'd have, number one, you'd have to get a zone change. And number two, but that zoning category that you're wanting isn't allowed in the classification that's on the future land use map. So sorry. Or you need to do you have to amend the comprehensive plan, which is not an easy process. And frankly, it shouldn't be, because if it's easy to come in and request a duplex zoning district in a rural classification, well, then everything we're doing right now is kind of a big waste of time. So it's supposed to be it's not supposed to be easy to get a comprehensive plan amendment. And so this will be in your comprehensive plan behind your future land use map, and this will be the first page in your zoning code as a guide for y'all in future zone changes that come up. As State Law Chapter 213 says, your comprehensive plan is a guide for future zoning.
Okay, and I think just that perhaps this is more of a discussion is a compromise to keep the 4 classifications here, like you're suggesting, Brandon.
Yep.
Is to, yes, define like you're asking, but also in parentheses give an example of a road in our area. I mean, regional, obviously, Ranch Road 12.
Right.
Community, I have no idea what community is.
Okay.
So
We are.
neighborhood. And then perhaps even suggesting that rural and neighborhood, can be interchangeable. But we don't want to get too far away, because there are some classifications that aren't marked where neighborhood is marked, but.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm working on right now is I like this idea of listing the streets, like a table of the streets under each of these categories. What I'm seeing is the rural streets being our roads that dead end. Like all of our cul-de-sacs, they tend to be a little bit more narrow and they have less traffic, and they all feed onto neighborhood roads. So this would be like Augusta Lane, Augusta Drive. So actually Augusta Lane might be considered rural, Augusta Drive a neighborhood, same with Champions. And then our community collector roads would be Brook Hollow, Brook Meadow, Wood Creek Drive. These would be good targets for potential pedestrian walkways in the future. And then our regional roads are Ranch Road 12 and is that 23, 25?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, I think, sorry. I think, so hearing you guys talk, I'm totally like hearing what I think the next steps are going to be for us. And sorry, I guess I didn't know that this was the last meeting. I thought that we were going to have at least another land use one and another road or physical systems committee meeting. So I think what I need to do is, one, I need to provide y'all definitions of the land use classifications. It says LU, but it means land use class. I need to provide y'all definitions of those. I need to provide you definitions of the street classifications. and then provide an example. We need to provide examples of particular roads in the community that meet that, and also provide a typical sketch. You know, when we talk about these roads and physical systems, again, remember that the physical systems portion of the comprehensive plan is supposed to give direction towards future transportation planning. And in this case, I mean a master transportation plan, which the city is looking at doing. The Platinum Roads Committee panel talked about that. I know City Council is interested in that. And so this plan needs to give direction to that. So I think we can do some simple street section sketches. When I say section, I mean you're cutting a section in it, so you just see 2 lanes, maybe a curb or gutter, or just a ditch. And so just give some examples of what those streets look like. And then maybe what I need to do is take that map that we used at the community meeting that, you know, Selena and I just took a shot at classifying based on the way we see it, and maybe give that back to you, like email you guys, and y'all could maybe mark that up with what streets you think they are, because depending on how you classify them, that may or may not change this matrix here. Because I've got an idea in my head about which streets are what, and what land uses are appropriate on those. And so I need to kind of formalize my recommendation. But that all depends on how you guys look at these different streets, right? So I think those are the things that maybe Selena and I need to do for you guys pretty quickly, like this week, and get that back over to y'all so you can have your process, and then that can be incorporated. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah. And Brandon, I know that Deborah said something about dead-end streets being classified as rural. I don't see that as rural. I see that as a neighborhood. But what I'm seeing as rural is areas. I don't think we have any rural streets here in the city.
Like a Caliche Road. Do we
Yeah.
have any of those that-
Yeah, I
We don't.
agree. I totally agree with you.
I think if we were to go down that road of dead-end streets and stuff like that, you know, you're talking about manufactured homes and, you know, different things that we don't want in our neighborhood.
Yeah, it looks like the only stuff that's marked for rural but not neighborhood is, manufactured home and RV and boat storage.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking that we don't have rural roads.
Well, we do have, so this isn't just in our city limits. This is also our ETJ, and we do have mobile homes. We do have RV park type situations. So this isn't just inside Wood Creek. This is all of the ETJ. Yeah. So that's,
Yeah.
you know,
So I'm trying to picture even in the ETJ where we have rural roads.
Not sharp.
Well, I think
Not Sharp Road.
yeah.
again,
Yeah.
something here is that something that may come out of this, and keep in mind that just because you may have a road that is improved to the standards or not improved to the standards of a neighborhood street, doesn't mean it can't still be classified as a neighborhood street. So, I think Deborah, I think you guys are talking about sort of the same thing. Deborah, you're looking at a street, you're looking at the extent to which it's improved by classifying as rural. And whereas the other way to look at it is that, well, maybe it should be improved to the standard of a neighborhood street. Maybe it shouldn't be improved to a rural standard. And so by calling one of these cul-de-sac streets where it's, falling apart, or maybe it looks like it belongs out in the country, maybe by calling it neighborhood, you're kind of identifying a street that needs to be improved. And so that's what that does, is that you can call that out in the physical systems plan and say, these particular streets are serving neighborhoods. So, but however, they're dinky streets. So there you go. These need to be streets that are prioritized for improvement to a neighborhood quality level. So remember, again, when I'm going to redo this map, I'm not going to classify a street based on how good the pavement is and how great of a street it is to drive on. I'm going to classify it based on what it's serving and maybe what it should be improved to. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, it wasn't about quality for me. What I was talking about is the type of use on the road and the traffic levels. So
Yeah.
I was just listing roads in our own city limits that can fall into these classifications. Like off of Brook Meadow, you have all of these cul-de-sacs with these large lots. It's only people, single family residences living on them. Nothing else is going on there. Borderline agricultural in some places. And then outside in the ETJ, you have these neighborhoods where it's just people living back there, or these, like, you have lodges, cabins, we have sections like that in the ETJ. So for me, it wasn't about road quality. It was about the level of traffic on the roads and the way people move through them, So to me, a neighborhood road is a road where it's not a collector, but it's, lots of residential homes, but these other roads kind of feed onto it, and then they link up to the collector roads.
Right.
The community road, as you have it written.
Gotcha.
That's kind of what I'm seeing.
Okay.
But I mean, we'll just have to see what the map that you bring to us looks like, and go from there.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and then I can work with you behind the scenes a little bit on some of these definitions and things. If you want to send me your drafts, I can kind of get them ready, and then we'll get them to the group.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you. We'll be in touch.
All right, guys. Thank y'all. Have a great week.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank y'all.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Yeah. So if we can switch over to, I do, but it doesn't connect to this.
Wait,
I was going to connect it with this.
Did you get a new cord?
No, if this one doesn't
What do you
work,
need?
we have more.
We need the laptop over here so I can project onto the screen so we can.
You need a laptop?
No, I have my laptop. These laptops don't connect to that.
I know, you want my
I
laptop?
use mine last time, right?
I don't know. I believe it's been the previous, city inspector Joe's computer is the one we've been using.
The last one was last time.
So if y'all have any other feedback you want to give on this, I mean, I'm not really sure where they got disconnected on the amount of meetings we had, because I definitely put that in that we had one more meeting and that we needed the map. And then they said, oh, we got to do this chart first, which I was like, okay, thinking this would be the last step. So hopefully whatever materials he plans to get to us, we get in the next week. Because I realize that this is something that P&Z is definitely going to want to look at and have a stamp on. Yeah. So, but yeah, if you can think of anything else.
I think having different names for land use and street frontage would be a good idea.
So the only problem with changing the street names is that they've already been used in the future land use meeting, and they've already been published in these graphs and things. So those have less flexibility than the land use, and so I think we just have to work toward maybe better defining them.
I'm good with using the same terms. I just wanted to make a point that we need to define them.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna use this for streets and this for class, you can't have the same definition in both places. That was my only input there, because I think, in classifying the streets and getting a good definition, for example, of what a rural street, a rural road would be, a neighborhood road, community road, regional road. I mean, I'm good with 23, 25, and range 12 as regional. Community would be Wood Creek Drive, because, a lot of people come through here. And neighborhood, the regular streets within the neighborhood, and then, like you said, the rural where they feed off of into an area that is more of a, not a subdivision, but a private home or something like that. But I think that understanding rural uses of land and neighborhood uses of land is incumbent upon planning and zoning, because when we get a request for, say, a PDD, because there's no PDD on here in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I noticed you left off a couple things, so.
You know, it would have been helpful last year, whenever that PDD was being proposed, to say, okay, this is great, but, you know, this doesn't fit in with what we're doing here. So, I mean, that would have helped Kenzie a whole lot.
Right.
So,
Do you have a way to blank out the screen for just a second so I don't project all my
Yeah, no problem.
emails onto?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you don't have a black screen? Okay. All right, yeah, I think this needs just a little bit cleanup, a little bit more cleanup. I'll try to work with Brendan on that a little bit more so that the next round, you know, I didn't know, he just said, here's this chart, you know, and gave this to us. I didn't really know his direction that he was going with it. So now that I kind of understand more what he's wanting to do, I mean, I'm sure he could. I've not seen it done that way. I mean, you know, typically, I mean, you don't really differentiate between the two, meaning the zoning as it stands applies to both the same, whether it's in the ETJ or the city limits. So you wouldn't change that. Yeah, I don't know if we would do a full list for all the streets out there. I think just giving some examples of them, like they said, would be good. And we could easily list all of the Wood Creek ones because there's not that many, but. Sir?
Just call them.
Oh, yeah, color coding, yes. Sorry, I'm trying to operate and talk at the same time. Sorry.
don't chew bubble gum and pat your head where the
Okay, Justin, I just, yeah, you
Blue
just
line?
said something today
You can do-
or last night.
No,
Even if it's bitter.
never.
Just. What's that?
That's
Have two thoughts at the same time.
Yeah, I know that.
Well, it's one thing to do that whenever you're working in a familiar setting. I'm working off of something I've never used before. For some reason, all your coloring is not showing up. Oh, yeah.
Did you pull up the one that was a print graph, or, or was it my PDF?
Do you have the Acrobat?
That's not just me, right? No, it is. Is that green?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's green, it's still a light green. It was intended to be real light green. Did y'all get a
Our
copy of
computers
these?
might be different versions.
It's my glasses. But they don't have blue. They have blue light black. They'll say that. Okay, now, sorry, you can reconnect that. Okay, so we are looking at the second final draft. So this is, if you look at your agenda, we're on item 2 now. Discuss and take appropriate action on the second review of the final draft of the comprehensive plan. So Lydia did amazing work putting this into an aesthetically pleasing format for us. And so content is definitely on the table for suggestions if you have any things you notice in here. But right now we're really looking at the visual of it. So we're talking colors, fonts, layout, you know, any of that kind of deal. You can make little recommendations on spacing. That kind of deal. So, you know, this is our front page. page, not much has changed here. Yeah, it's a beautiful shot. So this is one of the only images that will not receive any kind of captioning or credit. They have asked to not be named. So, but the city does have permission, does own the image. So here we get into our vision statement and background. We will be still captioning. So one of the last things to be done here is captioning photos. We understand from the last meeting that you all want to, we have to do that. We just need to work on that together and get it done.
You can do that as an appendix.
That's good. So just,
Well, I say,
Yeah, page 1, photo credit. Page 3, photo credit.
well, I was gonna say, I saved room that I can put the
Okay.
photo credit on the page. It's not a big deal.
well, and I want to go in and I'll highlight a couple of the photos and just ensure that they're free or that we can use them. I don't want to get the city into a mess, but because captioning is usually enough. But, you know, just, we might end up subbing out or removing some of the photos in the end.
And that's fine. I mean, I just put them in there so that we get the feel for the overall.
So, do we have any comments on the coloring, the what we're seeing so far?
Looks good. I think it was very pretty.
Yeah, right?
I found the font that is on our sign
Yeah,
and used it throughout.
very cool. And thank you for that, because it also gave us the right font just to assign people to place the wood in Wood Creek.
Okay, now, here's another thing that Deborah and I went back and forth on. In this area, see how your little squares are white print? Later on, you'll see that it turns to a yellow, so I want y'all's input on that, because we can very easily change this white to a yellow. So,
Or like, see how this text box does not have a line around it and this one does?
yeah. And I was just,
Do we want lines around all of them?
and I did go back and put lines
All of
So,
them?
around.
Okay.
I did.
I think the line, yeah, the
Yeah,
borders.
it delineates it really well.
And the white looks fine, yeah, the yellow might.
See, there's the yellow.
I think I prefer the white.
You prefer the white? Okay. All right, that's fine.
So for all the text box, or? And you'll see here in a little bit how maybe sometimes it could work.
Like on the thank yous up there, I think it highlights that we're thanking people rather than.
Yeah, if there's a different designation for the yellow,
Yeah,
I can see why the yellow.
That's good. Like, it makes sense there. Yeah.
yeah.
But when there's actual information on mission, whatever that be.
Yeah.
Perhaps white.
This is a little awkward to me right here. The wait, okay, so we have this is fine, and then staff members is like tiny and unbolded and kind of, and then
And we
these,
can fix that.
yeah, so that's just a little bit awkward to me.
No, just a concept.
Yeah, something, it's just a little editing needs to, I'd almost just bring staff members up here with K3s. Does that make sense?
I can do that.
Yeah,
I'm live with the document. The reason I did that was that up here I said planning and development consultant Pegasus, and then civil engineering K3s. And then I put staff members underneath there and called them out.
so maybe even if you put a space, I don't know, something's awkward there.
Just take out the numbers.
Yeah. You remove staff members.
Yeah, we can just remove the staff members. That's fine. I know. All right, there was a live change to this content. The other thing too, I'm going to ask you real quick, before we publish this, do you want a watermark across that says next draft? Because we haven't finally approved it yet.
Maybe when it goes to P and Z.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been doing that this whole time. But I can see how when it goes to P and Z, that people might start paying more attention.
Well, right now, the distribution has just been in here. So, I mean, I didn't put the draft mark across it, but it's easily done. So,
I think when it goes to P and Z, we do that for sure. So that they understand that it's still a draft and that any citizens looking at it understand that it's still a draft. I think when we remove it is when it goes to council.
right.
What do you think, Mayor?
Okay.
I mean, we
I
haven't.
mean, if it's a simple thing to do and, you know.
It is, it's simple. I'm not really worried about it. It's,
So see here, you can see where it's, these are staying yellow. You guys are thinking maybe all of this, like what if this one was yellow and these were white?
So the starting with 2 and the 3, making that one.
Right.
Where was number one?
Oh, that's an error. Your numbers are weird here.
okay. I don't know. Oh, number 1 is down there.
Yeah, it moved it wrong.
It moved. Okay, hold on. I'm with you.
You should do that.
No, what,
I'm putting draft in.
What program are you in?
I'm in Word.
Or like a nice version?
like the paid version.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the paper.
She's got all the buttons that I'm like constantly like, where's that button?
Yeah, no.
Where's that thing to do that thing? Like I know it's up there.
No, it's the-
I don't know why this is doing what it's doing. I'll fix
Okay.
It's not,
I'm just gonna make a note for now. Page 8. 6 numbers.
numbering.
Make white. We'll keep going. Okay. We have this. So some of the things that bother me a little bit is like, I feel like maybe there should be some page breaks. Or, I don't know, you know, like this map almost seems out of place here. I feel like maybe it would be better served to bump this one down.
and we can do that. That's what I
Bump
said.
number 3 down with this picture and number 4, and then this map we can save and use somewhere else.
That was just where it was.
Yeah, yeah.
And the thing, so, I'm good.
This one's better than one of these. So, page 9. Bump map. 3 down. Okay, so like this is yellow. Are we thinking we want to go white here? Or leave it as is? Maybe, so this box needs to be boxed in. Maybe leave this one yellow and make this white, or vice versa, make that white.
Yeah, I've already boxed it in.
Okay.
I kind of went through it after I sent it to you and cleaned up all of that.
Okay. What do you guys think about the coloring here?
Okay, yeah, so the heading paragraph,
White,
that's supposed to be yellow, right?
or it could be,
So,
Seems like, yeah, for mixing, we should choose a color for
Yeah, we need to be consistent whatever we're doing.
Well, earlier you guys said acknowledgements in yellow and information in
yeah, so that was just on the acknowledgement page. So like, we're changing these to white. Up here, the header paragraph was yellow.
and we're kind of like that yellow back there, so it's easier on the eyes,
It is.
but, and then so we
Just make them all yellow.
make them all yellow, and then back up there, the acknowledgements and whatnot, like that.
Make them too. We can just do it all yellow.
Do it all yellow? Sure.
I mean, it's up to y'all. I mean, it's no big deal to change it. So, I mean, It's a simple click.
Let's just leave it all yellow, then it's consistent, unless you think the white is needed somewhere in particular. Okay, so all yellow.
That picture up there at the top, none, is there a way without distorting the community? Is there a way of stretching that? without
Yeah,
distorting it?
I can stretch it just a
Or
little.
at least center it,
Yeah.
crop it and stretch it.
Yeah,
I can crop it and stretch it.
There's a couple of things.
Yeah.
I think in general throughout the document, there's a little bit of a lining that still needs to happen, where things are kind of using the same margins.
Well,
And
let me tell you why I did some of that. As people are going down, they get kind of centered in with that, and if you change it just a little bit, it wakes them back up. That was.
Yeah, no, I took a mapping course where literally people write dissertations on where you put the key on a map.
Exactly.
But I understand the sensitivity of this.
Well, the thing is, all right, here's my perspective on it, just as I used to do this for the school district in presentations and stuff. And so you look out at the audience as you're going through your presentation and they might start doing this, and all of a sudden, if you change the margining on them, they perk back up and so anyway, that's just it.
I don't know if this is official or not, but I just happened to, Google, Wood Creek Census 2020, and one of those sort of Census Watch things had us at 1770.
Wow.
A different number than.
So what are you gonna change your sign officially?
Yeah, I don't even know who does that. I don't know whether they just send it to you or what. I don't know if it's official. I don't think that 1750 makes any difference than 1750, 1770. I don't think it makes any difference, but it just popped up on Google as 1770.
Yeah.
well, can you change it? 1770.
By the time.
It's been 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure we're at 1770 right now.
Is the projections from the last census.
Yeah, I leave it there.
You want me to go to 1770?
We can just leave it, I mean.
Yeah, I don't think it makes any difference.
The 20 people doesn't make any difference because you can have that influx in a day with people moving in and out.
Those 20 people matter.
I know, they do, they do, but,
So these are two images I'm a little nervous about. They are free images, and this one's like off the Shutterstock, but I just want to make sure and double check that.
you know
What
what,
we published.
I was gonna say, I'll be more than happy to do that Wood Creek, Wimberley type thing. All you gotta do is take a picture of the map and
This is fine. I mean, it's
Yeah, they're fine. We just need to make credits and so when things are listed as free and they don't have watermarks, as long as you credit them, it's a real hard case to make against you. You know what I mean? But it's when you use it and you don't credit them.
Yeah. See, I didn't know what credit to give.
Yeah.
I just plunked it in as placeholders.
I know. It's a mess. We gotta clean up on the back end. We're just trying to get through the meat right now. So,
Right.
So Justin has resent in this graph. We're gonna sub it out for his cleaned-up version.
Okay.
So we decided to go all yellow. And so you're saying these kind of shifts are important to have.
Yeah.
This was bothering me, but I'm also OCD and line everything up.
I know.
So,
And a lot of people are. I mean, and that's the reason it wakes people up. Because it shifts and they're going, wait a minute, am I missing something? And they pop back up. So, just, that's the only reason I
so he's fixing the dates on this graph. And then this one is good. Right, did you send it out? This is the one, yeah. And then this one we have, is this the new one? No.
I've changed that.
Yeah, this one's, we've got a new one that's recent, and now we're gonna sub in. And so it's
in the mulch,
okay. Yes,
Do you put PDFs in here, or do you put JPEGs?
I put JPEGs.
Well, I've sent her those.
Yeah. I can do both. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Do we need, I guess, so we need borders on.
Yeah, the borders are all, I'm looking at the document that I have already corrected. This is, yeah,
So these, would we go yellow or leave them? They're not part of the document.
I would leave those white.
Okay.
I agree.
Because those are definitions of what goes with that map there.
Not content that we're putting together.
Yeah.
No, and
This is this is not a supplemental. Yeah.
right, what it is those boxes represent what you cannot read on that chart.
Yeah, right.
So those boxes are the words that are on that chart. So I think.
And they're helpful. That's, you know, it's important for understanding some of these terms.
Do we know where this picture came from?
I'll go in and find out. I mean, most of them are taken from free images online.
Okay.
So as long as you credit whoever took them, you know, there's no copyrights. I think crop any copyrights off, so.
Yeah. I have a question, and it's just wording. It's when we're on this picture of the Edwards Aquifer,
This,
yeah, the karst features of the limestone that flow into and are part of the contributing zone to the larger bathtub of the Edwards Aquifer. Should we just say feeder zones or instead of bathtub? I don't know.
so the reason why bathtub is in there is from talking with water gurus. It's not an official term, but it's a term often used because Edwards Aquifer is a large pool-like structure of aquifer, so it's like a huge holding tub, versus the aquifers that we're tapping down into are like a spider-like web, right, of water. So, that's where that came from. I did not create that. I mean,
To the larger recharge zone of the Edwards Aquifer. I don't know. It just,
well, because the Edwards Aquifer is a big holding tank.
it is. So, I mean, I'm fine with leaving it at bathtub. I just, you know, just
What's a different word?
the recharge zone.
Well, it's not the recharge zone, it's the actual holding
Well,
place
let's
of the
just
aquifer.
right then.
Because the Edwards Aquifer recharge zone is huge.
Yeah.
Technically this is part of that, but
Right.
this is all funneling down into the holding tank of the aquifer.
Well, let's just leave it that
So we should, you mind if I rework that? Then I've got some time to do that.
way. What, that map?
No, just that. Yeah, I like bathtub because I think when in lay terms, that's a little bit more for some of the vagaries of the geology of the region. But it's not just the Edwards Aquifer, it's also the Trinity too. Trinity rocks are on the surface, just being geologically accurate.
Yeah,
Because
it says
that's
on,
my deal. You wouldn't mind if I just, I'll go in and mess
Can
with that
you
a little bit.
Get
and
it
get-
like this week?
Yes.
well, just feed it to me. You know,
Also,
or feed it to Deborah and then she can.
okay. I still haven't received this.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
So this is in the packet. So if you look at the,
Was the packet sent this week? You're talking
uh,
about-
whatever the meeting was now. You guys did an email with the packet into it?
I didn't get an email this week.
It would have been last week.
Yeah, I know, I don't know. I didn't pay any attention because Justin, honestly, I had the document, so I didn't pay attention. I thought y'all had gotten it, but did you get it? Okay, all right. Well, we can remedy that. Okay. I think it would be a good idea to make sure y'all have your eyes on it. I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and and make the corrections that we're talking about right now. And then I'll send it to Suzanne and she can send it to y'all. Is that good?
You put in this.
So, yeah, just to recap, everything's gonna be left yellow. We're gonna make sure that all of these have the outlines around them, that the photos have captions. Justin, you might want to look at more of the content.
Yeah,
I'm not a geology.
No, like I said, this whole thing is a draft until council approves it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, the planning and zoning committee is supposed, our commission is supposed to meet next Wednesday. So I'd like to get all of this kind of ready for them, to get this out to them.
I think this picture could use a title.
Okay.
'Cause it kind of, I mean, it goes with the paragraph, but it also kind of comes out of nowhere. Like it's like, whoa, where are these rain barrels? And then you have to read this text to figure it out. But I think we could just put a title of it that says like rainwater catchment at Quicksand Golf Course.
Or double checking.
Oh my God. Do we have to go in and change? Are they changing the name? Immediately? Okay. So we need to make a note
Oh, did somebody buy the golf course?
today.
They're closing today.
Oh, it's in it. What's it gonna be called?
Before you change.
Double J Ranch.
I'm gonna leave it as quicksand.
How about the
Until
golf
it's
course?
finalized.
Okay. Catchment at the golf course.
But you know, when the picture was taken, it was.
So what if we?
It's in your-
It's in the
Oh my gosh.
Whiplash. Yeah, that's good. Not the whiplash, but that it happened, that there was someone else. Okay, so this brings us up to a good point. That's closing today without jinxing anything or projecting too much. Most of this document is referencing quicksand because that's what existed. Should we just say now renamed at some point?
Okay, once the closing goes, I can go in and put quicksand, or I could do double J and then in parentheses, formerly quicksand.
Okay, how's that? Yeah,
What?
just don't do it everywhere.
Where is that rain garden?
That's on the back of that's the golf cart
Yeah, that's
holding space.
Oh.
The shed, the golf cart shed?
No, where the little rain garden is. That's the golf course.
Oh, the rain garden? I'm not sure because that photo is not of a rain garden.
No, it's not. It's on the left as you're pulling in. There's even a little sign that
Oh, that's.
says, it actually looks more like quicksand. It doesn't garden.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's over there. It's over there behind the number 9 tree.
Number 9, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Now we.
go around the neighborhood and take some.
Well, you know, Vista Park. You know, that was designed with that rain garden. That's a rain garden down the middle of it. By design.
I think that's mentioned, but I'll review it.
It is.
The rain garden, as it looks now, looks different than that, so it might be worth updating that picture.
This one.
Or not putting the picture in at all, because that's, I mean, it's just not real. So,
You could lay a photo over this,
it's the same.
this one photo. This was taken from the Cypress Creek Watershed website. This is about them, and so here's also like their logo and stuff.
Yeah.
So this is their material. I did not produce this, but you could easily come in and plot the rain garden photo over.
Yeah, I can. I have a way of cropping it. I can take it into Adobe and crop it and do a different picture. But then, okay, here we go again. If you pull this from there and we're going to refer to it, we will have altered their material.
Yeah, except for you could just say like, okay, so we put the title over this, and it's referencing them already, in here as it's coming from them. And then you just say, you know, you do a caption of this photo. So in your photo caption, does that make sense?
Well, I go and take pictures of these and we just redo this. That way,
I felt, to be honest, less comfortable with making that significant of a change to their information than, okay. So I would just say either none of the photos, I mean, this is, I don't know why this photo.
well, I was gonna say, reference is 2019 anyway, and this is what it looked like in 2019, so.
This is not just this is the rain garden?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's just not, they haven't built it out yet. They haven't put natives in there, which they have.
Okay, well, I would just leave it.
And
This
there's
is
even a
their
placard that says.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we can
I don't
always,
think we could easily get permission to overlay an updated photo of that rain garden.
or we could go
Yeah,
take
make
another
it
picture and
then-
incorporate it down here that says, currently the rain garden looks like this.
Before and after.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
I just overlay what's current to that. I think that saves you a lot of work.
And you can say current, you know, we can caption it.
But that does look like sand drive.
It does.
All right, international dark skies. Warbler, this guy needs a caption. Free images, this is not in Workgroup, it's just a free image of Oakville.
That's sad.
Yeah, features of rain
Yeah,
garden.
picture.
So with these, do we want these to be yellow? I mean, just to match, everything yellow, yellow.
Yep.
Okay, you want the parts to be
Yellow. Hey, look, there's the mayor.
So that Urbana has overgrown.
They grow
Yes.
real fast,
they really do.
and they love hot weather. They have lots of sun. Okay, this is a little bit weird. This is not by itself.
Well, that's all the green spaces
Okay,
we have. That's all the green spaces. That was the map that was supplied by Kate.
no, I mean,
No, that's
Oh,
already.
you did? Okay.
Yeah, that's a different.
yeah, my name really big.
Yeah.
This is wrong, Blinker. Okay, so water drinking regulation, quality management. Alright, I'm kind of looking at the font. Like, I just want to double check that, like, all of this is pretty streamlined. Looks like you did a good job with it.
She now has a box.
Yeah, she did a lot of bulleting instead of the paragraphs, which is great. If you see any more of that that needs to happen, you can.
Yeah, I was gonna say is, all of this is very static, can change easily.
I don't know what's going on here, but does it look like the font is suddenly different to you guys?
You looking at a PDF?
Yeah, this is a PDF, but does this font seem different?
No, it doesn't on my document, but
Yeah, PDF is
Between this and.
Like, this
Shares.
seems like
Yeah.
scrunched together or something, something weird. Like, look at this,
yeah, there's a little.
and then look at that.
Yeah, it's higher.
Something is weird.
it is the line space. Okay, hold on. Look.
It almost looks like a different font. Or-
No, it's the same font. Let me just. It's the same. Okay.
We're just kind of slowly moving through while Lydia
and Calibri 14, so it's the same font. I wonder if it has to do with the bulletin.
Oh, probably.
Maybe it could be. Let me see if I.
Like there, it seems like there should be an image or something.
Yeah, a night sky or sundown or
Where are we?
Yeah.
On page one.
dusky picture.
Air
Kind of that
visibility
lights
forward.
out for migratory birds. Okay, crisp and clear.
Where are we? On page one.
31.
31. Oh, I didn't have a picture. So, it would, like I said, if I'm up for whatever picture you want to put there.
I just suggested a night sky. I've got some, I have some spectacular pictures that I uploaded
Okay.
that, they're, sort of, no, it was the candle.
Okay.
I don't know if it's suitable for this, but we'll do this.
Even just a sunset pic.
Yeah.
Even if we contact Cat takes
Oh,
all kinds of
yeah.
really cool pictures and sunsets and things like that. So, I mean, I'm sure he would be willing to
Yeah, I'll send you a note.
send him a note and,
All right, so roads, infrastructure, condition of streets, these are from Kate Freeze's work. So not really anything we've created. That's the truck internet. School.
On that page, the bullets are on different.
yes, they are. Good catch. Good catch. And that wasn't on purpose.
37.
Page 37.
All right.
Don't say it on here. And all of these changes that y'all are talking about will take very little time.
So like, this is kind of what I was talking about. So everywhere else, the bullets are like way over here. So it's almost like this needs to be
And that's
centered
easy.
inside its box.
Hold on. I'm going to. That's just a spacing issue. So we got that. All right, so that's on page 40. This is why we need
picture here, mobility picture 44. Try to catch some of those moms walking with their double strollers in the morning.
Walking dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is now green, and I need to put that to yellow.
Yep. It is the creep. Look at this. This is a totally different color.
No.
No? That is white on there. This is white.
Oh, but I see how you.
Is it? No.
No, it's actually very self. I think maybe the like screen settings on that computer
Something's weird. Okay. Well, this is not white. I don't care what.
Well, it's not the color of the paper. It's lighter than the color.
Something else. But nothing, it's just weird because what we're seeing up here doesn't necessarily reflect what's on here. So I'll be looking at this and be like, oh, all this, and then I look up there and it's
Oh, awesome. I need to, in looking at this on page 45, I need to shift that off of the more stuff. Well, no, I've done it too. Okay. I'm catching up with you.
Okay. So here's what Brandon was just talking about. We do have calls for a master transportation plan and policy. The Platinum panel is working on this. Are they, they're aware that they will produce something for it, and then obviously when we get the comp plan sort of finalized, we'll have access to it to be able to use as well the information in it. So the two will kind of work together. It won't be the Platinum panel doing it on their own. The comp plan will give them a lot of guidance, but you can see where Brandon said it should do this thing. Well, here it is. It's doing it. It's under the action plan. And then what I wanted to get at and just sort of highlight how we've already produced drafts using these terms. So I don't really, I mean, I just think, I think it's better to just give clear definitions of them in the next map versus undoing all of this work.
Exactly.
I've already put it.
Yeah, so that's what we were like talking about. I was like, I feel like some of this work is done. So maybe just a table, it's okay to kind of put the same information in different formats and put it in more than one spot. It just sort of reinforces the communication. But you can kind of see what he's calling a neighborhood. I was maybe calling rural, and he doesn't even have rural on here. So, I mean, you were right in the sense that you were like, I don't like Wood Creek has it. Well, Wood Creek City proper doesn't, but some of these roads out here might be falling in that category. All right. And so then again here they're using, this is one of those images could almost be left out, but I really liked the visual of all these dots.
Yeah.
And the citizen feedback. And I think it really explains when they were like none in some areas what that actually looks like. Because up here it's just numbers, right? On a graph. But getting this visual really to me mattered, which is why I included
It also shows that we really wanted public input. That was their
Democracy in action.
I like
This is yellow.
that. Yep, I've got it.
What?
Yep.
If that graph is representative without.
They're all three together. All three go together. But yeah.
Well, and they may end up all on the same page anyway as we add things.
Movement, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, things are gonna flow through this thing.
So like these two specifically go together. And this is the public feedback that created those two. So maybe just writing a title on those images could be helpful.
Yeah.
So as far as like, these two need to stay next to each other.
Yeah.
So if you did anything, you could put the public input first, but I wouldn't separate these. They need to be. All right. Yes.
The picture is kind of referenced down there below.
All right. So this needs to be yellow. Got it.
I'm gonna change it.
Marking trails feedback. Fiscal systems. I don't think Brandon has seen this document. I'll go ahead and share it with him too, whatever.
Is there a place for a picture right there?
Great.
Yeah.
Somebody walking on Players Mill or something like
Yeah,
that.
we can stage some.
Yeah.
Jumping out of the way of the car.
Yeah, I was gonna say dodging the car.
Not walking on the golf course.
As I was coming over here, there was a lady with this big gray thing, It's like, walking along. It's like, okay, there's an oncoming truck, I'm just gonna stop and just let the truck go by, because,
there's no place for them to go. You and Carly walk a lot, right? Get some photos of them. Okay, cruising the street.
Holding hands, walking in the street.
There she.
Okay. All of those. I don't know how I feel about the strategies being in this font. I'd almost prefer this to be regular. I don't mind the strategy part being in the fancy font. To me, this is a little bit hard to read. Well, what if I unbold it? That's something, yeah.
Okay.
And then like, the goals are really important. To me, focusing on those goals. Yeah.
And we can change it to the regular.
Yeah, I think the wording of the strategies needs to be fancy fonted. Or something, you know, unbolded, something different. And then,
stand out from the actual strategy.
and then I would do something with these goals, maybe make them bigger or something that, so that they stand out. Maybe this is a white paragraph, you know, but these goals are the, like I said before, if we deleted the rest of the document, those goals are the most important, followed by the strategies to achieve them.
Like I said, any of this can be easily changed with what he's doing. After, in a minute, after we get through with all of that, y'all can come stand around me and we'll unbold and.
That's okay. Well, no, I don't want to see you on time. I can look with you and do that, but it needs to be. So this is where that future land use map that Kate Breeze is working on is going to go, in that chart that they showed us today. So this would need to be yellow, I guess. Yeah. Maybe space it out a little bit more.
Yeah, I tried that and I was trying to get it all on one
Oh, I
page.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough to get that all on one page. I think if I shift over the bullets, I can probably get a little bit more space. No.
I would like to see a title here too, where your title block.
Okay.
Because I see it over here on the side of the page, but it kind of transitions from these actions and strategies to this, and I think there needs to be
Just implementation.
yeah, some sort of blocker there that says what it is. And if you can't get it all on one page, you could maybe break it up into 3 blocks or something.
Yeah, I can do that.
Planning for the future, implementation. Yeah, and then same here. You know, because throughout the document, you've used those buttons, or not, it's not a button.
I know.
So maybe one here too, just to sort of see the section, because if you're not tracking on the left-hand side, yeah, you'll have that visual break. And then key action items, here we are, most important part of the whole document. I wonder where our buddies are. We've been showing up to all the meetings. Okay, and then the glossary, we still need to finish, so
Yeah, we need to flesh that out.
these are,
I would definitely have that more.
form. Yeah,
I agree.
Do you ever use the term right?
right the way, yeah.
What about PDDs?
And development history.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it might be one of those ones where it's defined where it's used, but doesn't mean it shouldn't be in the glossary. So what do you guys think in general? Do you have any Concerns, feedback? Yes, well done, Lydia.
Looks fantastic.
Remember where TDBs are? Put in my notes anyway. Yeah, so okay, how do you guys feel about putting it to PNC? We're there. And I mean, for me personally, if the glossary is not all the way finished and the captions aren't there and we just have like a cover page that they know these things are coming and they do their first review, I feel like that would be good. What do you guys?
Agreed. I mean, they're gonna supply edits to the movie. Yeah.
Presumably, yeah.
And, we can still flesh it out after they're done. Right with it.
No, we got a
Meet-
quick
meet-
turnaround because PNC meets at 9 o'clock and it goes to council at, no, it doesn't? Okay.
So previously we talked about should P&G be, should we just funnel whatever recommendations they make to council? But it looks like we have additional business. We thought this was gonna be our last meeting, and as much as we all want it to be, unfortunately, so this is leading us into item 3. We are going to have one more meeting. The reason being, we have a set of minutes that needs to be finalized and approved. We will now have this work from Kate Freeze that we'll need to give another round of feedback on. And then we'll just go ahead and ask that P&Z make recommendations back to us, clean up the document. It would then be sent to P&Z one more time, then P&Z would send it to council. Okay, so we're so close, we can all smell and taste it. I really did want this to be our last meeting. I know a lot of us are ready to move on and breaking up our work days is hard, but we do actually have to have it. Okay. Well, that sounds good. I mean, I think that in 2 weeks could be.
It's taking forever. But we're actually right in the target timeline for writing these plans.
They take about 2 years and we are, at December will be at 2 years. So we're actually kind of finishing a little bit early. And I think that, part of that is because their city is a lot smaller. We don't have as many moving pieces as other cities have. But I think that we've done a really good job of trying to be really efficient. Personally, I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but I feel good about it. So to recap, we will get a copy of this document to you all. I'll make sure Brandon gets a copy. Please come with any final edits and things. You're gonna maybe make some text edits this week. I'll get you his graph. As far as what we're gonna send to P&Z, we're gonna finish doing these tweaks that we've all talked about here, and then that will be the document that's sent to P&Z. And if Justin can get his edit in time, we'll include that as well. And then as far as our last meeting, how do you all feel about having it, instead of trying to squeeze it into 2 weeks, how do you feel about having it next month? October.
I would like that because that way, we can meet and then it goes to P&Z because we should have our regular meeting that first week.
So P&Z is not meeting this month?
Yeah.
Okay,
They're meeting.
so P&Z will have given us our feedback. We'll then have time to deal with it and get it on everybody's agendas again. Okay, I like that plan. So are y'all comfortable with that, next month?
Next month, I'm out the first week
Okay,
I am,
of October, I'm back.
you said you were gonna be on, didn't you?
yeah, I'll be available starting the 10th.
Like,
So how about the 11th? Is that too soon for you guys?
That's fine.
So October 11th at 9 AM will be our last meeting.
Oh, wait, no, I miscalculated. I will be available for the 17th.
Okay. Well, we're,
So Tuesday, the 18th.
yeah, we could do that instead, I guess. Tuesday the 18th, that just pushes out P and Z finalizing it to November. But that's okay. Unless P and Z calls a special meeting.
And it won't hurt my feelings if they'll do it.
Well, considering you were one of the last people hanging on to this, we definitely want to accommodate your schedule. So, yeah, I think this group has worked really hard. Yeah. I think P and Z could maybe call a special meeting for this.
Yeah. We're meeting next week, we'll have a new, chair, and, so, then they can call the meeting.
You don't want to do it anymore?
Huh?
Do you not want to do it anymore?
Oh, no, it's just, I can't say because we've got to, it's so part of the process.
Backing up, because I'm a little concerned about the timeline now, because that's really far out. That's 6 weeks now. So instead of waiting till October, when do you guys, what if we did it 3 weeks from now on the 27th?
That's the day before I have to fly.
Okay,
That's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Tuesday.
actually it doesn't, there's nothing saying, Josh, it's when we originally voted.
And then we'll extend to the rest of our members, but work your meeting, the schedule.
Right.
So let's find something that works.
So there's the Monday, the 26th, or the 22nd or the 23rd, the week before.
Those are all fine.
I can't do the 26th.
So how about the 26th, Monday the 26th?
Yeah.
Okay, that's almost 3 weeks away, so it's kind of like the concept of like giving us a little bit more time. I just worry about pushing it too far out into October. 6 weeks is pretty far away.
Yeah.
So,
September 26th.
September 26th at 9 a.m. we will have our next meeting. Do you guys want to vote on it? There's only 2 of y'all.
Motion to have the meeting on the 26th.
At 9 a.m. I'll second.
I vote not.
I vote aye.
I vote
And then I guess just for formalities purposes, do we approve the second review of the final draft to send to P and Z with the edits we've made today?
I make a motion to use the 18.
aye.
Well,
Are we good?
I think we're great.
All right. Then I'll wait to hear from you. I'm gonna be gone the rest of the day, but if you give things to me tonight, I will sit down and get this done so that we can turn it on. Like I said, this is not a big deal compared to, you've been really fast.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, what's the journey?
Oh, going to the meeting at 10:40. Nothing, 10:42 maybe? Yeah, 10:42.
Close.
Close enough. Okay. Thanks.
Did you want me to go with the passing along